Chapter 11. Alice. On Monday morning, the next in the series of events began. James arrived around 10 o'clock and confiscated the conference room. He rolled butcher paper across the windows and the doors so that no one could see what was going on. He and his staff were in there for about 30 minutes before they tore down the paper and allowed everyone to glimpse the newest activity. I walked downstairs at 11 on the dot to find half of my employees already in the conference room. There was another table of snacks off to one side, and the conference room table itself was full of gifts. 3 dozen sets of pajamas were stacked on one side in colorful reds and greens, with coffee cups and reindeer prints. Each outfit came with a bow, purchased new for the occasion. There were also board games scattered around the table. I spied Monopoly, Connect 4, and Candyland, among others. There were enough for small groups of people to engage in gameplay, but not enough for everyone to have their own. I could easily see that the activity was going to be board games, probably allowing employees to take home the pajamas. James spotted me and called the room to order. Raising his hands, he silenced the entire crew in under a minute, a feat that I was unable to accomplish myself. "You can see we've got board games today," he announced. "This is family board game night. Everyone grab a set of pajamas and a couple of friends to play with. But first, there's a gift for everyone to open." Excited whispers filtered through the room. James walked through the crowd holding a hat. In the hat were slips of paper with numbers on them. When he got to me, I met his eye confidently. He smiled back, either over our little spat in my office or pretending to be. I actually couldn't tell. I reached into the hat and pulled out a number, opening the folded slip to reveal 18. James moved past me, allowing everyone else to select a gift until they were all taken. Scoping out the presents on the table, I could see each one of them had a corresponding number. It took me a moment to find mine, buried under numbers 2 and 5. James played master of ceremonies once more, telling everyone from 1 to 10 to open their packages. Around the room, employees tore into their gifts, revealing books and games, chocolates and mittens. "Now numbers 11 through 20, James said, focusing in on me. I accepted the challenge, ripping through the wrapping paper and discarding the bow. Inside was a white cardboard box, and inside that was something distinctly not appropriate for work. I couldn't tell what it was at first. There was white fur and red fabric tucked together beneath a pale sheet of paper. Holding it up, I realized my mistake at the same time as everyone else did. It was a teddy, trimmed with white fur and dotted with bells. The underwear portion was little more than a thong, and the bustier was the supportive kind that looked like it was already filled out. I caught my breath, mortified to be seen with the thing. Around me, other staff members held throw pillows and yard games, nothing even remotely close to the intimate wear I had been gifted. I looked at James, furious to find him laughing. After a moment, other people started to laugh. I had no choice but to join in. If I didn't, I would look like a spoilsport, or worse, like a boss who couldn't take a joke. It didn't make any sense. I was sure the gift was meant for me, but how? We'd all picked numbers randomly. If Craig from sales had received this naughty teddy, that wouldn't have satisfied James's ambitions. He must have known somehow that I would be the one to pick number 18. I was positive he'd orchestrated it, though it seemed like an honest mistake. "Why would you even include something like this in the game?" I pouted. "It's just a joke," James replied, winking at me from across the room. I excused myself, pretending that I had to go to the bathroom. Leaving the teddy in the box on the table, I declined to claim ownership of it. If somebody else scooped it up while I was gone, so much the better. Storming back to my office, I was livid. How dare he? Hadn't he put me through enough just by being here? First the kiss, and then this ridiculously sexual party favor. If he was my employee, I would fire him outright. Only the joy that he showered on my office kept me in check. I couldn't ruin Christmas by canceling the rest of the parties. I would just have to grin and bear it. I was working my way back toward rejoining the group when James appeared. He knocked on the door, and I could tell it was him. There was something about that knock that told me its owner was the one person I couldn't control. "Come in," I snapped. "You're not going to skip another party," he said, taking one step inside, but no more. "We're waiting for you downstairs." "That was so humiliating," I hissed, pointing a finger at him. "I don't know how you did it, but I don't appreciate it." I don't know what you're talking about, he said. You know, I accused. You manipulated it somehow so I would get number 18. You chose that number yourself, he asserted. I had nothing to do with it. Oh, really? I challenged. What if Craig had gotten 18? That would have been really funny, he replied. Why was there only one Teddy? I changed tactics, trying to get him to confess. Would you have preferred more? He asked. No, I snapped. That's not the point. Come back to the party, he urged me, holding out a hand. There's a regular pair of pajamas with your name on them. I considered his request and knew he was right. I couldn't sit up here and pout all day. People would know I was upset, and that wouldn't make a very good impression. I had to play it off like it didn't matter. A sense of humor was very important in the workplace, and I didn't want to get a reputation as a stodgy boss. So I gathered up my courage and went back to face the music. There were a few sideways comments, which I took as gracefully as I could. The teddy was still open on the table. No one had claimed it, as I'd hoped. I grabbed the box lid and fit it down over the gift, hiding the bright red and white from view. If I couldn't get rid of it, at least I could cover it up. James saw me and smiled. Damn him for looking so handsome while he was ruffling my feathers. Keep it, he said out of hand, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I forced myself to smile, pretending that I didn't care. Most of the other people were focused on their own board games. Half a dozen setups were arranged around the conference table, and staff members crowded around them in matching pajamas. It was cute, and I allowed myself to be distracted from James and his irritating charm. Only one or two people were waiting for my reaction, so I gave the offending box a little push. No thanks. Which game do you want to play? James asked, moving on to the next topic of conversation smoothly. Chutes and ladders, I suggested. If I recall, you were very good at that game, he mused, pulling it out of the remaining pile. I looked around, wondering if anyone was going to catch his reference. But they were all absorbed in their own games, chatting and munching on snacks while they did it. James made a spot at the end of the table for the two of us to sit down. I considered asking someone else to join us so it wouldn't look like we were playing against each other. But no one else was available. They were all studiously absorbed in their own battles, some playing chess, some playing Monopoly. James handed me a set of regular pajamas tied up with a green ribbon. Put that on while I set up the board. I gave him a stern look, undoing the tie and shaking the shirt out. How come you don't have to wear one? I will, he promised. I unbuttoned the front and slipped the shirt over my own, closing it up with nimble fingers. It was strange. Even though I just added a second outer layer, I suddenly felt more comfortable. It was as if I was at home in my living room instead of in the office with my staff. When James followed suit, we transformed into a family. I could imagine everyone in the room as a cousin, aunt, or uncle, and we were all enjoying ourselves together. I had to hand it to my ex-husband. The addition of the pajamas to the board games was genius. It really took the atmosphere to another level, infusing the entire activity with magic. I couldn't help but smile, and he knew he had won that round. I'm going to kick your butt, I said. It's been 10 years, he replied. I could have spent it all studying the art and strategy of this game. I doubt it, I laughed. You're going down just like you always did. Game on, he answered, narrowing his eyes as if it was a high-stakes poker table instead of a childish board game. I won, just like I said I would. We passed the time in friendly competition, but even though it seemed like a random series of drawings, I always managed to get ahead. There was something about the ladders that I was able to capitalize on, catapulting me to the top of the board. At the end, James had to admit defeat, and I was vindicated. The teddy lay forgotten in its garment box.